She opened the mailbox and froze. An envelope from the bank stamped in red letters, urgent. Claire's heart sank. She knew the logo instantly. It was the same bank her parents had borrowed from to open their family store. A small Brooklyn corner grocery, filled with the smell of bread and apples, had been their pride and purpose. Now it was the only thing tying her to the past. Her hand shook as she ripped the envelope. The paper crackled under her fingers. Notice of impending transaction. We confirm receipt of documents regarding the sale of the property located at. She read the line 3 times. Sale? What sale? She hadn't signed anything. According to her father's will, the store was split equally between her and her brother Michael. Claire sank onto the steps outside her house. The street bustled on. Teenagers laughing at the corner, an old man with a cane crossing the road, a door slamming upstairs. Life moved forward as if nothing had changed, while in her hands lay a paper that could erase everything she'd been protecting. She snatched her phone and dialed her brother. The ringing dragged on. "Michael, what's happening?" she demanded as soon as he picked up. "I just got a letter from the bank. They're selling the store." Silence weighed heavier than words. "Not on the phone," he finally said. "We'll talk tonight." The day passed in a blur. Claire went through the motions in the store, smiling at Mr. Cho buying milk, saving bread for Mrs. Gonzalez, pouring coffee for students. But behind every smile was fear. Her mind kept circling back to the letter. Every corner of the shop screamed of her parents. Her mother teaching her to place red apples in front, green in back. They sell better that way. Her father chuckling while counting coins in the old register, calling the sound the music of our family. And now all of it could vanish? That evening the doorbell rang. Michael stood there, his eyes avoiding hers, his steps heavy. Claire sensed immediately. He was hiding something. "Come in," she said coldly. They sat at the table. A half-empty coffee cup from the morning still sat there, as if to remind her. Life had been normal just hours ago. "Did you sign something?" she asked. "Yes," he answered flatly. "Yes." Her voice cracked. "That's all you can say? We didn't have a choice." "We?" She slammed her palm on the table. "I never signed anything. This store isn't just business. It's Mom and Dad's memory." Michael's jaw tightened. "You think I wanted this? Do you know how much debt I've got? The bank was already threatening court. And so you'd sell our future for that?" Claire's eyes filled with tears. The silence pressed down thick and suffocating. Outside, Brooklyn buzzed, sirens, barking dogs, music from a parked car. Inside, only 2 siblings breathing on opposite sides of a widening chasm. Claire's eyes landed on the photo of their parents smiling in front of the store. Her knees nearly buckled. "You didn't just betray me, Michael," she whispered. "You betrayed them." He turned away. "You won't be able to change anything," he muttered. Those words cut deeper than any blade. The night was restless. Claire tossed and turned, replaying Michael's words over and over in her mind. "You won't be able to change anything." They echoed like a sentence. By morning, dark circles shadowed her eyes. She opened the store at 6, as always. The neatly lined shelves, the fruit display, the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Everything looked the same. But inside she felt the ground shifting. "Good morning, Claire," came a familiar voice. Mrs. Gonzalez stopped by for her usual loaf of bread. She lingered a little longer than usual, her gaze soft but probing. "You all right, dear? You look exhausted." Claire forced a smile. "Just a rough night." Mrs. Gonzalez nodded, then leaned closer and whispered, "Listen. Yesterday I saw a man outside the store. He was talking to your brother. I heard him say something like, 'Soon we'll be the owners.'" Claire froze. "Owners? Are you sure?" "Absolutely," the neighbor confirmed. And he looked like he meant it. When the door closed behind her, Claire's hands balled into fists. This wasn't just about Michael's debts. Something more was happening. All day her eyes kept drifting to the photo of her parents above the register, smiling as if encouraging her. She remembered her father's words. "Every dollar is more than paper. It's the trust of the people who come to you." But what trust could remain if her own brother betrayed her? That evening Claire dug into the drawer where she kept family documents. Wills, tax forms, receipts. Her hands shook as she sifted through them. And then she found it. A bank receipt from just last month. Michael's signature was there. But beside it, a note. Partial guarantee from outside investor. Investor? Her eyes locked on the line. He hadn't acted alone. The phone rang. Michael. Stop digging, Claire. His voice was hard. I mean it. The less you know, the better. You brought someone else into this? She demanded. Who is this man? Silence. Then the call dropped. She sat there, phone in hand, fury and despair rising like fire in her chest. But under it all, something else was taking root. Resolve. If her brother chose secrets and betrayal, she would choose the fight. The next day, Claire felt like she was walking across a minefield. In the store, she smiled at customers, but inside she was burning. She knew now. Michael had involved someone else, and that meant the situation was far worse than she had imagined. That evening after closing, she went back to the box of documents. Pages rustled, smelling of dust and time. Then her eyes froze on the lease contract, the one with their parents' signatures. Right beside it lay a new copy, and her heart nearly stopped. Under her name was a signature she hadn't written. Claire traced the ink with her finger. It looked too familiar, too carefully forged. Michael. He had faked her signature. Anger surged through her chest. She grabbed the papers and stormed to her brother's apartment, only a block away. He opened the door reluctantly, as if he already knew the storm was coming. What does this mean? Claire threw the documents onto his table. You signed for me. Michael's face went pale, then hardened. Keep your voice down. Keep my voice down? Do you realize this is fraud? Do you realize you're destroying everything Mom and Dad built? He snapped back. Enough about Mom and Dad. All my life you were their pride and I was the screw-up. They covered for you, but me? They paid for my mistakes and made sure I never forgot them. You have no idea how many debts they cleaned up for me. And you decided to do it again? Her voice shook. But they're gone now, and you decided to use me instead. His jaw tightened. I was trying to fix things. I thought if I sold the store I could clear my debts, start fresh. Start fresh. Claire let out a bitter laugh. You call burying their memory starting fresh? For a moment doubt flickered in his eyes. But then he turned away, his voice cold. You don't understand, Claire. There are people I've already promised. Walking away now would mean making enemies. Her stomach knotted. People. The investor. He wasn't just in debt. He was in danger. Who are they? She whispered. Michael didn't answer. He just stared out the window, avoiding her eyes. The silence said more than words ever could. Claire knew. Her brother had gone too far. But if he thought she would give up, he was wrong. The next morning Claire decided she couldn't wait for the truth to surface on its own. If her brother was tied to someone, that person would eventually show up. And she was right. The store bustled with life all day. The bell jingling at the door. The mix of coffee and fresh bread filling the air. But near evening he appeared. A tall man in an expensive coat, walking with the confidence of someone who already owned the place. Good evening, Miss Hale, he said smoothly, as if they were old acquaintances. Claire stiffened. Do we know each other? A faint smile crossed his lips. Call me Mr. Brown. I'm your brother's partner. The word chilled her to the core. Partner. So this was the investor. Partner, she repeated. Funny, no one bothered to tell me. Brown leaned casually on the counter, his movements slow, deliberate, the kind of man who never doubted outcomes. You know, your store has incredible potential. Perfect location, steady clientele. I'm confident it will soon be part of a chain. Heat rushed to Claire's face. A chain? This is a family store. It belongs to me and Michael. Belonged, he corrected softly. I understand it's hard for you to accept, but your brother was very persuasive. He made it clear the deal will be finalized within weeks. Every word stung like a slap. My brother had no right to make that decision without me, Claire shot back. Brown arched a brow. Without you? I think the documents will settle that matter. Her voice wavered with anger but stayed firm. If you're counting on a forged signature, you'll have a bigger problem than you expect. His smile thinned. Problems, Miss Hale, only arise for those who stand in the way of business. The phrase landed like a threat. He turned and walked out, leaving behind the scent of cologne and a suffocating silence. Claire stood frozen, her grip on the counter so tight her knuckles turned white. Her world might be crumbling, but something inside ignited. Resolve. If Brown thought he could intimidate her, he was wrong. She lifted her eyes to the photo of her parents and whispered, "I won't let anyone steal what was yours." That evening Claire dug once more into the box of documents. Papers spilled across the table, and among the receipts and faded photos she spotted an envelope, its edges yellowed with time. Her father's handwriting, firm, familiar, aching. Her pulse quickened. She tore it open. Inside were letters dated 15 years ago. In them, her father wrote about hardships, about how our eldest, Michael, has once again fallen into debt. He confessed that even then he had been covering loans to protect the family's name. Claire read the lines over and over. Her father, stern but just, had never spoken of this aloud. He shielded Michael even when he wrecked everything around him. She leaned back, covering her face with her hands. Memories flooded in, her father handing her the register keys for the first time, saying, "Claire, remember, trust is the most valuable thing in our business." Back then she had been proud. Now that trust felt broken. Tears streamed down her face, but with them came something sharper, anger. Anger not only at her brother, but at her parents, who had shielded him again and again instead of forcing him to take responsibility. A knock broke the silence. Hastily, she hid the letters and wiped her cheeks. Mrs. Hale, the elderly neighbor, stood at the door holding a basket of apples. "Thought you could use something sweet, dear," she said gently, though her eyes were serious. "May I come in?" Claire nodded. They sat at the table. Mrs. Hale set the apples down but went straight to the point. "I knew your parents well. They were the pride of this block. But there's something I must tell you. Michael was always troubled. I remember your father pawning your mother's watch just to cover his card debts. That was before he remarried." Claire's breath caught. She had never heard this. "They never told me." "Because they wanted to protect you," the neighbor sighed. "But Claire, if Michael is tangled with dangerous people again, then you're in danger too." Claire clenched her fists. The puzzle fit. Michael had always been shielded. And now, with their parents gone, he was ready to sell their legacy to save himself. When the neighbor left, Claire turned back to the letters. Among the father's lines was a plea. "I believe that one day you two will hold together. You her strength, he her hope." She gave a bitter laugh. Hope? Today that hope had become a threat. Claire rose, stood before the mirror. A woman with red-rimmed eyes stared back, but her gaze was hard. She whispered, "If Michael has chosen betrayal again, I'll choose the fight. And this time I won't stop." Claire hadn't slept all night. She kept rereading her father's letters, hearing his voice in every line, his hope, his plea for unity. But each page also felt like a verdict. He had spent a lifetime covering for Michael. And now it was up to her to end the cycle. By morning she knew she couldn't hide any longer. She had to confront her brother head-on. Michael's building was a crumbling place on the corner. Paint peeling, teenagers loitering outside with beer bottles. The air smelled of neglect, just like Michael's life. He opened the door groggy, annoyed. But when his eyes landed on the envelope in Claire's hand, his expression darkened. "We need to talk," she said firmly, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. The apartment reeked of cheap tobacco and stale coffee. Bills littered the table, playing cards scattered among empty cans. It was the picture of defeat. She laid the letters down. "Do you know what these are?" His silence was answer enough. "Our father spent decades covering your debts. He gave everything just so you wouldn't destroy the family. And what have you done? You forged my signature, sold the store, dragged me into some predator's game. A man who already struts around as if he owns it." Michael's fists clenched. "You don't understand, Claire. This isn't just debt. These people, they're dangerous. If I don't finish the deal, I'm finished." "And if you finish, then I'm finished," she shot back. "You dragged me into this against my will. This isn't just your life. It's Mom and Dad's legacy, their sweat and blood. And you'd erase it all just to run from your problems again?" His voice cracked into a roar. "You've always been the saint. Always perfect. You never made mistakes, did you? While I was the failure." Do you know what it's like to be the shadow all your life? Shadow. Claire stepped closer. You were given everything, second chances, third, 10th. They sacrifice for you and you call yourself a shadow? No, Michael. You're not a shadow. You're a coward. He slammed his fist on the table, dishes rattling. If you stand in my way, you'll go down with me. Do you understand? These people don't stop. Her pulse pounded, but her voice stayed steady. I won't let them take the store. And I won't let you destroy what we loved. If I have to, I'll take you to court. The words hung like a blade. Michael recoiled, his laugh sharp and bitter. Court? You have no idea who you're up against. But Claire already knew. There was no turning back. She gathered the letters, pressed them to her chest, and as she walked out she said, You think I'm alone, but truth is on my side. The door slammed. The hallway smelled of damp, but to her the air felt clearer. She had taken the first step into the real fight. Claire knew Michael would avoid her after their last fight. But she didn't expect the next strike to come so soon. The morning began like any other. She stacked fresh produce on the shelves, tried to smile at customers, pretended everything was under control. But her heart drummed with unease, as if it sensed what was coming. The bell over the door jingled. She looked up and nearly dropped the box of apples. Mr. Brown stepped in. Today no overcoat, just a perfectly tailored suit. His smile polite but cold. Good morning, Miss Hale, he said, as if they were old acquaintances. I thought we should talk without an audience. Claire's chest tightened. This wasn't a casual visit. He moved through the aisle with the confidence of someone who already owned the place. I have nothing to discuss with you, she said, forcing her voice steady. On the contrary, he replied smoothly. We share common business. And the sooner you understand that, the better for you. He approached the counter, resting a hand on it. His eyes locked on hers, sharp, unwavering. Your brother made mistakes. But mistakes can be corrected. The deal is nearly complete. All that remains is your consent. Anger surged in her chest. My consent? You think it can be bought? Brown smirked. Bought? No. Persuaded, yes. He opened a folder and slid a document toward her. Her heart clenched. It was the contract, bearing her forged signature. Perfectly imitated. You see, on paper you've already agreed. A court would find it hard to say otherwise. Claire's face paled, but her jaw tightened. That's forgery. And you know it. I do, he admitted calmly. That truth, spoken so plainly, chilled her more than denial. But proving it? That's another matter. He stepped closer. I don't wish you harm, Miss Hale. But if you stand in the way, well, business doesn't like obstacles. His voice was barely above a whisper, but it froze her blood. Is that a threat? She demanded. A piece of advice, he replied, stepping back as if the matter was settled. Think about your future. He left as calmly as he had entered. The door closed, the bell chimed, but to Claire it sounded like a gunshot. She gripped the counter, trembling. Yet inside, fire ignited. This was no longer just a family dispute. It was a battle for truth. Her eyes lifted to her parents' photo. Their smiles seemed today like a command to act. All right, she whispered. If they want a fight, they'll get one. The next morning Claire woke with a heavy weight in her chest. Brown's words still echoed. His calmness had been more frightening than any open threat. He spoke as if everything was already decided. She sat in her kitchen, a cold cup of coffee before her, but her mind replayed only one line. On paper you've already agreed. If he was that confident, he must have a plan. Which meant she needed one too. Her first stop was the lawyer. Her father's old friend, Mr. Lawrence, still kept a small practice nearby. When Claire entered, he looked up from a stack of files, removed his glasses and frowned. Claire? I expected to see you only for good news. I wish that were the case, she sighed, placing the forged contract on his desk. Tell me, can this signature be proven false? Lawrence studied the page, running a finger along the ink. His face darkened. Handwriting experts can confirm it. But you must understand. Men like Mr. Brown don't play fair. If he drags this out, it will be a war of attrition. Then let it be war, she said, her voice trembling but eyes firm. I won't let them steal the store. He exhaled slowly. Then we need evidence. Photos of the store, your parents' old records, any witnesses. Who can testify you never signed? Claire immediately thought of Mrs. Hale, the neighbor. She had been with her the very day the papers were supposedly signed. That could be her chance. That evening, Claire returned to the store, trying to steady herself. But peace was not waiting for her. At the entrance sat a car. Inside, Michael. His face pale, his eyes darting. He looked like a man chased by his own conscience. Claire, he said as she approached, you don't understand who you're dealing with. These people won't stop. Michael, her voice cracked, you brought them here. You started this. He clutched his head in his hands. I thought I could fix it. I thought the deal would solve everything. But now they want more. More than I can give. A chill slid down her spine. What do you mean, more? His eyes met hers, desperate, like a cornered animal. They don't just want the store. They want the land beneath it. The whole block. The words hit like a hammer. It wasn't just about the family store. Brown saw it as the first domino in a chain. Claire stepped back, heart pounding. This was no longer a siblings' quarrel. This was a fight against people who always won. She raised her chin, voice low but unwavering. Then we fight for all of it. Claire walked home late that evening, the streets nearly empty. Only scattered lampposts casting pale light on the sidewalks. She couldn't shake the sensation of being watched. Every few steps she glanced back. No one. Yet her pace quickened, her pulse pounding. Michael's words echoed in her head. Time was running out. Sleep didn't come easily. Again and again she saw Brown's cold smile, the folder with her forged signature, and that quiet voice. Business doesn't like obstacles. The words burned like hot iron. The next morning brought no relief. When she reached the store, her stomach dropped. A paper was posted on the door. Sanitary inspection. Operation suspended. Official signature at the bottom. Her legs wobbled. This wasn't random. This was Brown. He was tightening the noose, using the system itself to choke her. Her phone rang. Miss Hale. A calm, unfamiliar voice. You might want to reconsider the deal. Inspections like this happen often, especially to those who don't know how to cooperate. Claire's grip on the phone tightened. Who are you? A friend. A short chuckle, then silence. She stood frozen before the locked door, despair crawling in. Then a voice called out. Claire? What happened? Mrs. Hale, the neighbor, appeared with a grocery bag in her arms. She read the notice on the door, her face hardening. Ah, they're playing dirty. I knew your brother was tied to bad men. But if they're using tricks like this, then you have a chance. A chance? Claire frowned. Yes, the neighbor said firmly. They think intimidation works, but it exposes them. You have witnesses, you have proof. Don't back down. The words lit a spark. For the first time that day, Claire's despair shifted into resolve. That evening she returned to Lawrence's cramped little office, walls buried in files. She laid the inspection notice on his desk. See? They've started using officials against me. Lawrence's jaw tightened. Typical. They want to corner you. But pressure like this can be documented. We'll gather complaints, attach letters, witness statements. You do have a chance, Claire. But prepare yourself. It will be a dirty fight. She nodded, eyes sharp. I'm ready. But the night had one more test. When she returned home, an envelope waited in the stairwell. Inside, a photograph of her store taken in the dark. On the back, scrawled in bold letters. Final warning. Claire sank onto the steps, staring at the photo. Her hands shook, her breath quickened. Fear clawed at her chest. Yet beneath it something stronger stirred, defiance. She whispered into the empty hallway. If they think I'll break, they don't know me at all. The day of court arrived gray and heavy. Clouds hung low, as if warning of the storm ahead. Claire climbed the courthouse steps, folder of documents in hand, heart pounding but steady. Inside, tension filled the room. The judge, a stern woman in glasses, took her seat. On one side sat Claire with Mr. Lawrence and neighbor Mrs. Hale. On the other, Michael and Mr. Brown, confident, cold. The matter of disputed ownership, the clerk read. Plaintiff Claire Hale. Defendants: Michael Hale and Brown and Company. Claire's chest tightened hearing her name, but she didn't falter. Lawrence opened first. Your Honor, this is a case of forgery and coercion. The defense claims my client consented to sell the family store. But we have proof she did not. Brown rose, smiling faintly. Your Honor, we present a valid contract, signed by both parties. All formalities complete. Perhaps Miss Hale regrets her choice now, but the law respects agreements. Claire clenched her fists. The way he said my client made her blood boil. Lawrence laid down photos. Your Honor, these surveillance images show Miss Hale in the store at the exact time this contract was allegedly signed. She was receiving deliveries, not sitting in any office. The judge leaned forward. Interesting. Mrs. Hale then stood. I was with her that day, she said firmly. We unpacked fruit crates together. She couldn't have signed anything. Brown frowned slightly. A neighbor's memory may not be reliable. Months have passed. The judge cut him off. The witness is confident. It will be considered. For the first time, hope lit in Claire's chest. But the biggest moment was yet to come. Michael took the stand, eyes avoiding hers. I confirm the papers were signed. His voice shook. But I never saw her do it. Mr. Brown handed them to me. The room buzzed. Claire stared stunned. He couldn't bring himself to lie outright. Brown shot him a glance but masked it quickly. Your Honor, the contract bears her signature. That's sufficient. Lawrence stepped forward. Signatures can be examined. We demand handwriting analysis. Beyond that, we present letters from the late Mr. Hale. In them he writes of Michael's long debts and entrusts management only to Claire. This proves the family's intent was for her to keep the store. The judge flipped through the letters, face unreadable. Finally, Claire herself rose. Her voice trembled at first but steadied. Your Honor, this store is not just business. It's my parents' legacy. Mr. Brown tried to pressure me with threats, forged papers, and false inspections. But I stand here to prove one thing. Truth is stronger than force. The judge was silent for a long moment. I will return with a decision after recess. The room stirred. Brown adjusted his tie, irritation flickering in his eyes. Michael sat hunched, shadowed in guilt. Claire stepped into the hallway, lungs filling with cold air. Lawrence joined her. You did what you had to do. Now it's in the judge's hands. 30 minutes later, everyone reconvened. The judge read her decision. The court finds the contract invalid due to questionable authenticity and supporting evidence. The property remains with Miss Hale. The room erupted. Claire's head spun. She barely heard the words, but she understood. She had won. Brown packed his papers, smile gone, eyes sharp as steel. Michael drifted past her, avoiding her gaze, a ghost of the man he could have been. Outside, Claire drew a deep breath. The sky still gray, but to her it felt brighter. She whispered to herself, if they think truth has no power, let them see, it always wins. Claire won her battle. But stories like this aren't just about courts and papers. They're about choices. She could have given up, shrugged, and said, that's life. But she chose to fight. And here's a question for you, the viewer. How many times in your life has someone tried to take something important from you? Money? Trust? Maybe even your name? In those moments, it's not the law or connections that decide the outcome. It's your inner strength. Truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it shakes, sometimes it hides in fear. But if you don't betray it, it will stand. That's the real moral here. Even against those with money and power, truth can win if you refuse to back down. Now tell me, have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Did you manage to protect it? Share your story in the comments.